Welcome to The Perfect Exposure, where every episode we bring to you home industry experts where we discuss related topics. I'm your host, Mary Coons of Mary Light Photography, and I'm here today with
Anthony Wolcott with Gabler Realty.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This is actually very exciting that you get to be our first guest.
Love it.
Also very fitting because we had discussed and had the endeavor to create a podcast together probably over a year ago.
Yeah.
So very fitting.
That is actually pretty cool.
Isn't that kind of funny that you were the first one and now here we are.
First one again?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I guess we can go all the way back to, the beginning of your real estate career and maybe dive into some of your previous careers and let me know some of your past experiences and what led you to the real estate industry.
Yeah. So growing up, I was in the construction industry for a lot of the years, honestly. So my father was in construction, so naturally I worked with him when I wasn't in school, so during summers and all that. Before I was working with him, I kind of did some work on local dairy farm, a relative of ours, so I did a lot of, hay work and all that fun stuff in a 90, 120 degree hay mow.
Whoa.
But yeah.
A lot of hands-on.
A lot of hands-on stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was from a very young age, but then got into the construction stuff with my father just because,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're not doing anything. Get out here. Get out here and help me.
Did he have his own business? Is that?
No, he worked with a small contracting company that built like foundations and installed septic systems, made the septic system tanks themselves.
Big stuff then, like some heavy duty digging.
They didn't have like a huge crew or anything like that, but they were pretty efficient with what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a number of years. Ended up going to college for a little bit.
Where'd you grow up? Where was your dad's?
Out on the other side of Cooperstown, New York.
Oh, okay.
So I lived in a very small town called Burlington Flats. I went to Edmondson Central School.
Okay.
I always tell everybody out by Cooperstown because nobody ever knows.
What county is that?
That's Otsego County.
Otsego County.
Yeah, with a T, not Oswego.
Oh.
Everyone thinks Oswego.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So Oswego is a county of its own, or is it just a...
Oswego?
Yeah, is it just a town? Or city?
Actually, I think it's...
Good question.
Yeah, I don't want to make myself sound stupid.
Fact checker. We have our fact checker here. He's going to check.
I think it is a county, though.
Okay. I know it's a
but
college.
I know it's yeah.
That's about it.
That's interesting.
It's all right.
I never go out that way.
We'll get... It is a county. You are correct.
Yeah.
We have our fact checker here.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So...
so I grew up out... Otsego County, yeah. And it was like, it's a very desolate area. There's
like
not
farms, or just
it was
land?
Very agricultural out there. There's, at the time, it might still be a little bit, but it was a high poverty area. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on. And really, if you weren't a part of a family that owned their own business, you were kind of like surviving. You were there surviving. So, so I had to be pretty creative and the fun, which, So, but that introduced me to like the outdoors. Like my family was like huge into hunting and all that. So, when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I would literally just go out in the woods and build forts and make tents and
cool
stuff like that, and got into hunting, and that's kind of been my passion for most of my life. But anyways, very, very desolate area. So me and my friends
had some fun.
Yeah.
Getting into a little bit of trouble.
Things my parents don't know about. A lot of things my parents ended up fighting about.
Oh, no.
But it was good. It was good. It was a good overall experience. Nobody got seriously hurt.
Okay.
We did get hurt, but
Yeah.
not
You're
super
still
serious.
alive?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
still alive.
still
We're
alive.
walking. But yeah, a lot of those same friends that I grew up with, you know, we all moved out of the area to go to better opportunities.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, my one buddy, he grew up, his father owned an archery shop. So, you know, everyone that hunted pretty much went to his archery shop to work on bows and target shoot and things of that nature. But he ended up, so my buddy Matt Lehman, he ended up moving to Kansas. He got married, everything. He's got kids now, but now he owns a outfitting business out there where people come and do hunts, which actually I'm going this Saturday.
Are you really?
So, yeah, I'm going
so cool.
Yeah,
Back
so I'm
to your
going
roots.
to Kansas. Yeah. So I'm going to Kansas Saturday for a week. So I'll be out there with him and his family, which is awesome. I look forward to that. And then my other buddy, he's got a family. So yeah, so everyone's doing good. Once they moved out of there, we all had our riffraff. We grew up.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing good.
I feel like
so.
riffraff happens in a lot of places, you know, like even
Yeah.
you can be bored. These, like, our kids have everything at their fingertips.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bored anyway, you know, at least
there's just different levels to the spectrum when
different
it comes
outlet.
to,
So, you know, I think that's, you know, it's cool that you can take what you did back then and maybe got into some trouble, but also still love to keep that passion for the things that kept you busy and productive and apply it to your current passions still.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, because I think a lot of those shape what we do in our current careers. And it kind of, you know, we're able to personalize our own business based around that stuff.
Your own passions and likes, for sure.
Yeah.
I was making videos with my sister when I was like 10.
Cool.
You know, I was like, you're gonna be in this.
Right.
So
right.
you got to do similar things.
Yeah.
And, you know, bring it to your current life.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, that's awesome.
You should have videotaped us. It would have been America's Funniest Home Videos or something. Yeah. Or that or more like that show, Jackass.
Yeah.
That was more of that was us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That explains.
Yeah, that was us jumping off roofs on the trampolines and all sorts of
So after
stuff.
college, what was after that? What'd you do?
So I ended up meeting my wife. Again, I ended up back home. My grandfather passed away, so I ended up back home. That took kind of like a huge toll on me. Ended up meeting my wife through one of my best friends that I went to high school with. He went to Union College out here, and I came out and visited him. It was like one of those things where I was like, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
And then I heard, you know, later on, Lindsay wasn't going to go out either. And last minute we both decided to, and I didn't know this at the time, but so I'm like, yeah, I'll go out there, check it out. I've never been out here. So yeah, I came out, I met her, and then the rest is history. So yeah, I ended up moving out here shortly after. I'm like, what the heck? There's nothing going on here. I'll just move out there.
Right.
So
she was out here already then.
Yeah, she went to Niskayuna High School.
Oh yeah. Super local then.
Yeah, so she grew up in Rexford. Her father worked at GE. He retired like 6 years ago or so.
Okay.
But, and then her mother was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time home helping raise them and taking care of all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're super fortunate, and obviously clearly shows. So,
Right. She's phenomenal. Lindsay's great.
So once I moved out here, I ended up getting a job in construction still, just because I had some experience background in that. So I worked for, at the time, it was Legier Restorations.
They still around?
No.
Okay.
But the owner, they own like a ton of buildings and stuff like that right in Schenectady, Ray Legier.
Okay. It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
like,
he's
I've seen the name.
Super awesome guy. Yeah, he's funky. And if he watches this, he'll probably have his little smirk on. So
that's great.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. Yeah, so he owns the Armory down there in Schenectady, and they have a lot of great events. They host a lot of, like, when movies are being filmed in Schenectady, he'll host them there. Like keep the production
Yeah.
crews and stuff like
Yeah.
that there. So
That's so cool.
yeah, so it is pretty cool. So I did that for a little while, and then I ended up working for Service Master of Upstate New York in Green Island. So I ended up becoming a supervisor there, managing some crews.
Was it sales or like project management? Or?
Project management.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was mainly like a lot of insurance work. So
Okay.
if someone had a fire in the house, water damage, things of that nature,
I get you.
we would go in.
So like if I had a fire here, I'd get a phone call from you, basically.
Well, it kind of depends. Like, you know, I think in that industry there are some like quote unquote ambulance chasers and stuff like that, fire chasers.
Yeah.
But you know, an insurance company would recommend some
I once
restoration companies and stuff like that.
I had some smoke here in the studio.
Oh, really?
And I think I actually was the day of the grand opening, and Lindsay was coming. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, I remember she
and it
telling
filled
me
up
that.
the whole space. And I got a phone call, and I believe it was from a company like Service Master. And they said, oh, the police or the fire let us. I was like, I think you saw all of the trucks
for sure.
outside
for sure.
my
They were
building.
listed as scanner.
And they're like, oh, there might be particles in your home. And I'm like, I think we're okay.
No, there's some really there's some really great people in that industry. We're good friends with DJ Johnson, who owns Professional Fire Restoration, and that dude he's a crazy man, but he's like, he'll give you the shirt off his back. He's awesome. So
he's what's this title? He's like a what would you call that? Like a home restorer, or like a home,
just disaster restoration.
Okay, because we could definitely use someone like that.
Yeah.
In here.
Oh, you would love DJ.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm like, so is it related to what we want to talk about?
Yeah.
Because I bet that would be a useful thing.
Yeah, because he does a lot of stuff. Like if there's homes that have odors, and you know, he can come do deep cleans. He has like an ozone machine.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
super
cool.
cool.
And he also has a construction division associated with it as well. So
even better.
Yeah. So if people want decks, they can do that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, after the fire happens and they go through the mitigation process, they can put everything back together as well. So cool. Yeah. But he's an animal. He's an awesome guy, but he's all over the place, doing a lot of fun things.
I think sometimes in the industry that we're in, similar home industry businesses, you have to have that personality of like the hustle mindset, but also just the gumption and sort of slight risk taker personality.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, or if you run your own business in general, you have to have that animal brain, like you said.
Be a little spontaneous.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, but so I ended up at Service Master for a little while, and then I ended up taking the test to become a police officer. So I was in Schenectady PD for a little while. I was there for like 3 or 4 years, and then once I was done with that, I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do now? And I've always wanted to get into sales, and of course, having a construction background. I loved being in different houses. I loved, you know, the characteristics of a lot of these houses. So I'm like, I'm going to try real estate.
Yeah.
So it was something that I've always kind of wanted to do. I think like a lot of people that get in the industry, they're, you know, it's always in the back of their mind, but I think, you know, it's a risk going in it. You own your own business essentially. You know, if you're not selling houses, you're not making money.
Yep. It's a tough industry to get started in.
Yeah, for sure.
And you started it with, you had moved here how many years prior?
12.
12?
Yeah.
So you had some connections from construction and from being in the police department for so many years. So you had, you know, the benefits, I guess, that some people might not have, you know, like newly into the get-go. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was too my my grandfather who passed away. He always told me I was like a chameleon. So doesn't matter who I'm around, who I'm with, I can kind of blend in and, you know, just pick up something out of the conversation and run with it. So so I think that kind of goes a long way with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a huge trait.
Yeah.
Like a huge asset.
Yeah.
For someone as a personality trait in that industry, because you never know what people are thinking, and but if you can pick up on sort of the vibe that they're giving off and have a discussion with them,
social cues,
that's a gift not everybody has. And some other people in our same contacts will say the same thing, that you have this like general ease. You're just easy to be around. Like there's just this.
I try not to get too worked up.
Yeah. Like maybe you are inside, but for somehow you are able to. Maybe it's the police department training, or just the shenanigans you did when you were a kid.
Different people I'm working with now.
You're just, you have the ability to really be someone that people feel at ease around. And I think that's especially,
awesome to hear.
Well, I mean, when people are buying and selling their biggest asset,
right,
the last thing they need is frantic, right? Or just, or emotional reactions that are, not supportive of, of course you want to have empathy and be happy for them. But things happen in transactions that aren't expected. I mean, maybe not on their end, but I mean, even sometimes for, the people on the more experienced end can have things that happen that are unexpected.
Oh, for sure.
But I think that's part of what we like about our industry is it's awesome. Never the same.
Yeah, you could talk to somebody who's brand new, or you could talk with somebody who's been doing it for 25 years, and they're always running into something new one way or another.
Well, and it keeps changing. There's new buyers.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. Contingencies.
From the NAR.
That, everybody was freaking out about that for a while, and from listening to other realtors talk about it, they're like, well, it's not really going to change anything for me because, and that calming sort of demeanor, I think, can really help offset any of those little anxieties that people have when they're considering a realtor, you know?
Yeah, I think no matter what industry you're in, if you own your own business, you gotta be good with change one way or another. I mean, you gotta be able to adapt. You gotta be able to work with people that you may or may not agree with.
No, 100%.
You just kind of gotta roll with it. And working yourself up on something you may or may not know the result of isn't gonna help you, and it's certainly not gonna help your clients. That's for sure.
Right. So now you're with Gabler Realty.
Yep. I started with Oxford Property Group.
Right.
Yep.
Love them.
So I started with them. I worked with Jamie a lot there, Jamie Sittner.
Yep.
And she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's just a great person overall. She's got so much going on.
She's like the giver. Like, she's a big time giver.
Yeah, sometimes a little too much, but yeah.
And then Tim Tyler's over there.
Yep.
He's my first customer out here in New York.
That's awesome.
He was my first customer.
Yeah, Tim's funny.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's solid.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. He's got a good family too, so that helps.
Good people. Yeah.
Keep them in line as much as possible.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. So
it was Oxford Property Group, and then just Gabler.
I was there, and then I just ended up going over to Gabler. So I talked with Judy Gabler probably 6 months to a year before I actually ended up going over there. And we had a really good conversation.
She's awesome.
We had a deal together, and she was just awesome to work with, and I think we kind of hit it off there. Yeah. Just because we're both similar when it comes to let's not freak out over something that doesn't need to be freaked out over.
Yep.
We can both talk to people and get people to understand things even when they're highly emotional about something. But she kind of pressed me a little bit on just pushing myself a lot more and just kind of getting out of my comfort zone, and I'm one of those people that I like to think about things. Sometimes I think about it a little too long, but
Okay.
that's something I've worked on for a while now, and I think I'm pretty good. But
Yeah.
yeah. So and then we ended up meeting again, and I'm just like, yeah, like I'm getting to the point now where I need the extra assistance with admin and
They have a great support team.
yeah,
over
the marketing
there.
team over
Yeah.
there is phenomenal, top
Their
notch.
response,
Yeah.
like timing is,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah. So as soon as especially when I saw the marketing there,
Yeah.
went in and, met everybody that was there, it was just like, their office is literally a house.
Yeah.
And you walk in and it's
Yep.
just like,
I saw that for the first time. I was
ready
like,
to have
this
a
is
cup of coffee.
yeah,
and,
this is great. I feel like I'm at somebody's house.
yeah. Yeah.
In their kitchen.
Right. So you just like instantly felt at home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like
Aw.
I'm all about like pushing myself, especially out of comfort zone. My wife will be the first to tell you that I'm a risk taker.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
thankfully, as many risks as I've taken, I've always kind of progressed, and
Yeah.
no matter what happened, I kind of get back on my feet and
Would
move
you
forward.
say that you're intuitive a little bit with some of your choices?
A little bit.
And maybe that's why you think about it,
Yeah.
because you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Because intuition's scary, right?
Yes.
I would say I definitely built my business on intuition, and I feel like it's served me well.
Yeah.
But then I have to go back and be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Is
Right.
this the right thing?
Right.
Is this a big risk? Is it the right thing, not just for me, but for my family? What
Yeah.
if this? What if that?
Right.
But at the same time, without that risk-taking personality
Yeah.
and the intuitive behaviors that have taken you so far, it's like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I always say when in doubt, like, yeah, you have your heart, you have your brain to rely on, but you can never go wrong with your gut.
Yeah. I feel like that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your brain can definitely be wrong, and your surroundings can be.
Yeah. I mean,
deceitful.
I think logic is obviously good, and emotion is good sometimes, but having a good mix of it, together, I think that's where the gut feeling comes into place.
Yeah, I would
So.
agree. I think that there's definitely like a trifecta there.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
times where it's like a graph where there's more intuition
Right.
pushing you in one direction, and and emotions can get involved too. If
Yeah.
something makes you feel that good, then it's like, well, maybe I should be pursuing it. Maybe I
Right.
should really dive into that. But then logistically, how does that work?
Right.
And does it feel good in the long term?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's especially with that entrepreneurial spirit that a lot of realtors have, because
Right.
even though you have the support team and you have like a great marketing department behind you and you have experienced broker and all of that, there's also this sensation, I guess, that you're it for your business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what areas are you serving right now? Where are you focusing on a specific, like?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously
Geographic.
I'm working Capital Region.
Okay.
I love working in the Capital Region just because there's a lot of different mixtures of types of houses, generally from higher end luxury to, investment properties to, secondary homes up by like Sacandaga Lake. So there's a good mixture of everything. So,
So you're not really married to like one specific.
No.
Okay.
no, I like
So you
keeping things
travel.
interesting.
Yeah.
I love traveling.
I think you've had a listing out there that we went to that wasn't super close. I can't remember where it was, but you were like, would you be able to?
Right,
And I
right.
was like, whatever you need,
Yeah,
we'll do it.
yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah, I've had listings up in Lake Placid area too,
Yeah.
up by New York. So I've done work up there too.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, I just
It's a good experience though,
Yeah.
and an adventure, because
yeah,
you learn about demographics and you learn about different areas. And I think that in a way, when you learn about the surrounding areas, you're learning a little bit more about your immediate area, because
Oh, for
it kind
sure.
of points out what
How
you're
one side-
lacking
right.
or what you actually have that they don't. And you're like, oh man, I have a CVS and a Walgreens and good schools here, and out there they got great schools, but I have to drive 40 minutes to the grocery store, and
Yep.
and how does that factor into price points and
Right.
or desirability, or what
Exactly.
who your buyers are going to be, or even sellers
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, it definitely drives the marketing on how you're going to pursue that. But
That's
I mean, I grew up in the rural area, so like I love
it's
working
familiar.
in that
Yeah.
aspect too. So
Yeah.
like as soon as you hit like Schoharie County, Otsego County, Montgomery County, those counties out there, I can relate to most of the people out there. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And now, so you're doing residential,
Yep.
commercial.
You
did
yeah,
a
I did a
little
little
bit
bit
of
of
commercial.
a little bit of commercial. I try not to get too involved with commercial and
It's
leave
different.
that. Yeah.
It's really different.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is the marketing end of things with like compliance and all that. But
It's definitely a little more involved.
it takes longer, right? A lot of those transactions, if it's
Yeah.
selling a business
Yeah, depending on what it is, for sure.
or selling a warehouse,
Yep.
those are two different things. Or sometimes
Yeah.
the strategy is if they take the warehouse, they don't need the business or
Right.
whatever.
Right. Yeah, you're not essentially working with a buyer for $250,000. You're
Right.
working for,
And it's
anywhere from, $700,000 up to 5, 6, 7 million,
right.
or whatever.
And it's their like whole life, like work.
They built that.
And their livelihood.
Yeah.
So that's terrifying for them, I imagine. And then there's all the logistics behind it that just seem a bit more complicated than residential. And on the flip side, I have some commercial clients that don't like residential work.
Right.
And
right.
maybe because they've been doing commercial for so long.
Yeah.
But I like working with people in their homes.
Right.
I
Right.
feel like when you're, if they're there, when you're doing a listing photo shoot, you get a little piece of the pie. You're like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
this is your home.
Right.
We're going to help you sell it. And we get to be able to make them feel better about that process.
Right.
Whereas, like, you're the main guy. We only get a little taste of that.
Yeah.
So
With the commercial and residential aspect of the marketing that like you do, is there like a big difference between the two on how you take photos, how you video?
yeah. So the big the businesses that are going up for sale, plus they're selling with the business, whatever comes with it. Sometimes it's a house and a warehouse and a storage unit or a showroom.
Equipment.
We
like
don't
that.
like with a home. I'll go in and photograph every room that isn't a disaster.
Right.
And sometimes it's even like a couple of pictures of the disaster room for just in case.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
somebody wants to see it. And you take pictures of the inside, the outside. You may do a video, drone, or floor plan. With commercial work, it's more like taking making an advertisement for the business so that people want to buy it.
Right.
Instead of an advertisement for a home, it's an advertisement for a business and all the facilities that come with it.
Right.
So a lot of the times there'll be like a commercial director, not like commercial director, but commercial director of a brokerage, and they have to come in and sort of sell it in that way, and not just like turnkey business. Like we did one for a landscaping company.
Yep.
And similar feel. We don't take 6 pictures of the kitchen, it's like one photo of where they have a kitchen facility. And restaurants are different too. A lot of the times it's let's get some real footage of people eating and having a good time, or like throwing axes or whatever they do in there, and show some livelihood and successfulness of the business and entice somebody who's got the money and the drive to do it.
Right.
Whereas with homes, it's like we want people to see the way the sunlight comes in through the window in the bedroom, or that you can look out your window and see the kids playing in the yard.
Right.
It's so, in a way, it's similar that you're trying to entice people to take a look at the photos and experience something, not just see something.
Right. Have
but
that
like,
feeling.
Yeah, or even just like for me, it's like I swear I could go into any home. It could be like a shack.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I can make a way for it to feel homey. So
Envisioning.
yeah. So, but with businesses, it's like, okay, now I have to put my entrepreneur brain in. Like,
Right.
could I get people in the door here? How would I do that? And then, yeah, let's market it that way.
Right.
So the packages are different, but it's a lot of the same strategy as envisioning, like how people would be here,
Right.
whether they're living there or working there. Or
Makes
both.
sense.
Some
Yeah,
people,
yeah, yeah.
some
Yeah.
of those properties, they've got a house and they've got a storefront,
Yep.
and and somehow you got to get them in the door.
Right.
And that's similar
cool.
with selling homes too.
Right.
I do like doing commercial property
Yeah.
marketing, but I could see how it would be more complicated
Right.
on the selling end, because
Yeah.
it's like this could drag out. Just like bigger property, like $1 million homes around here don't sell in 2 days,
Yeah.
like our $350,000 homes.
Right.
Right. There's a smaller demographic of people who are going
Yeah.
to purchase that home.
And I don't think there's like a lot of, I mean, there's emotion tied to it, but I don't think it's the same emotion that is with residential.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's more
Right.
of, I hate the word transactional, but it's more of like a transactional feel where it's like the numbers don't lie. Like, if the numbers don't work,
Right.
then
Then you have
that's
to,
it.
yeah, you got to bring, and that,
Which it's a business, so
Yeah.
like you got to understand that. But
Yep.
it's just with residential properties, it's like people are willing to be a little more flexible because they can see their family there. They
right,
can see, coming home from work, and
that to me, I think it has to be like one of the greatest satisfactions for on the buy side. Do you work with buyers a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not a great year or great few years for buyers.
Right.
It's
right.
been tough.
Right.
But I imagine that in a way that makes that the satisfaction of offer accepted
Yeah.
way better than
Yeah.
if it was consistently. I'm looking at the silver linings. Like,
Right.
that's all
Yeah.
I can think
No.
about.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, it feels good to hear
Yeah.
like offer accepted, but it's even better to hear the reaction of
Yeah.
your clients when you tell them that the offer
that
was
good
accepted.
news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like take a moment and like think about how you're going to tell them, or are you just like rush into the phone? How do you deliver that news? Does
I
it
try
depend?
to give it to them as soon as possible. I don't like.
Is it like straightforward, or are you just like, yeah, offer accepted, or do you?
Yeah, I'm very.
That's awesome.
I'm very. Yeah, I'm very
I was totally
straightforward.
picturing
Yeah,
it. I'm
yeah.
like, how does
Because
Anthony...
like I just whenever I talk to clients, I always like think about like how I would feel when if I was to receive the call. So
Yeah,
the last thing you want. It's kind of like
dragging it
when
out.
when your doctor calls you.
Yeah,
right.
just tell me
It's
the
like,
news.
am I sick or am I not sick?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so I
Yeah.
call them and basically tell them like, hey, I'm calling you right now. Congratulations, your offer's accepted. Like,
Yeah, that
let
must
that
be...
sink in. And sometimes, I'll tell them, depending on the time of day, like,
Think-
take a few
yeah.
hours and just make sure, revisit some things
Mm-hmm.
and, go enjoy that time with, your husband, family,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And, we can talk later today or
That's so...
tomorrow or whatever. So just let them have their moment and
Yeah.
kind of keep the kind of business side separate from that
Yeah, let them have
that time.
the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's similar to when I used to photograph weddings.
Yep.
Right after the ceremony, I would say, go away.
Right.
I'm
right.
not going to borrow you for your photos for
Yeah.
like 5 minutes. Just go. And then sometimes they're like, they look at each other and they're like, I just want to get this part over with.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, let's
Yeah.
go then. But if you can tell they
Weddings
need a
are work
moment.
for everybody.
Yeah, it's also awkward. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now we're
Yeah.
married. Now what?
Right.
This is the same as yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're not actually technically
Exactly.
married. We don't have the
Right.
license. But but in the same essence, it's like this big thing just happened. Sit with it and sort of let it settle if
Yeah.
it does. And then I like that. I think that's a nice touch that you can add to that whole process.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was a lot of anticipatory anxiety or hemming and hawing
Oh yeah.
about
Especially during like that
negotiations.
time when exactly.
Ugh. Yeah.
When a lot of people were getting, offers denied 4,
So
5,
many
6 times.
times.
Yeah.
Really, like
So
I've heard people say that they've had buyers looking for a couple of years and have had like 20 or 30 offers declined. And
yeah,
some of them were over asking, but not enough over asking, or the
right,
contingencies couldn't work,
right.
where they have to sell like within a certain time
It's
frame. Or,
wild.
it's just crazy.
That's
It's
wild.
crazy.
Yeah,
I can't even fathom that
yeah.
aspect of it. And
I think a lot of it depends too. Like, I guess it doesn't matter which side you're on, but both sides is just like setting the expectations right off the rip. Like, everyone sets their expectations differently from, other real estate agents. So, one way or another, I think there are a lot of commonalities too. But, just like any place, people are more worried sometimes about themselves,
yeah, yeah.
you know, instead of clients sometimes. And
Like, how
that's
does
like
this
a
look
tough,
on me? Or
yeah,
how, yeah,
yeah,
rather than this is a huge disappointment
right.
for my clients, this is a minor setback
Yeah.
in this process
And
for
again, like,
you.
that's any industry that you
Yeah.
talk about. There's always people out for themselves. There's always team players. There's always great leaders. So it's just like,
And you outline things for your clients, right? Like
yeah,
you've had a pretty good system for outlining like what this, whether it's buy side or sell side, what this process is going to look like and who is going to be involved in
oh,
it.
for sure,
So
for
there
sure.
are no questions really. I mean, there's
Yeah, not
probably a
really.
million questions,
Well,
but
yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
questions about,
yeah.
that you're leading the way,
Right.
and that you have a system in place. And I
Yeah.
mean, the law has systems in place too, but
Right.
you're giving them, sort of a preemptive
Yeah.
checklist.
I try to make everything kind of black and white
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah,
Like,
because everything else is
these
gonna
are
be,
things that we absolutely have to do. New York State laws and so on and so forth, ethics,
yep.
all that stuff comes into play. Like, those things are non-negotiables. Like, I'm not gonna beat around the bush or like say, oh well,
I know this
it's like,
guy.
no, like, that's where I think a lot of deals end up going sideways.
Yeah.
Is like, people tend not to be so straightforward with people.
Right.
And they're obviously, there's a ton of great real estate agents out there, and I still have a ton of work to do, but that's always been my thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a straight shooter. Like, this is what it is, so that way nobody can ever come back to me and say, well, you didn't say
Yep.
this,
I
or
can
I
appreciate
wasn't
that.
expecting
Yeah.
that. So just telling people and setting those expectations right off the bat, giving them a list of preferred vendors in the area. I always tell them they're vetted preferred vendors, people that I've worked with and trust and so forth, and it's ultimately up to them on who they choose. I'm never going to tell anybody to work with somebody. They can choose.
Yeah.
Because obviously people always ask, well, who should I work with? Well, this is the list. Like,
Right. These are
the people
we know.
that I trust, that I've had good experiences with, and that's what I can essentially offer you. So
That's great. I think that's a good precedent that
Yeah.
that you have experience with these people, which A, says that you have experience, but B, that you can give them a list of preferred vendors, but you're not going to strong arm them into somebody who they
No.
don't know anything about. Like if they heard so and so sold their house and they used this home inspector and it was great,
Right.
then they can go ahead and
yeah.
use that person. And
Right.
that's, that's good, because
Yeah, and I always-
people feel out of control, I think, at certain points in
Yeah.
the process.
And I always recommend them calling them and talking with them to get a good feel on, who the person is, ask them questions. They can do, some people want to do that, and some people are like, nope, just
Give us a number.
give us a number and,
Yeah.
and send them there. So everyone does it differently.
Yeah.
Everyone, there's different personalities out there. So
Right.
I always try to align personalities, because that's like a huge thing.
Yeah, that's something you're good at too.
Yeah.
That
I love connecting people.
Yeah, you do.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
that's you definitely have done that for me too in the
Yeah.
past, and I think that's something like there's some feel of serendipity in some of those connections. Like you might not know this person now, but I'm introducing you because I think at some point they could be beneficial, or you could be
Right.
beneficial to each other
Right.
down the road, and nothing might come to fruition like right away.
Yeah.
But it could
No.
be like 6 months or like a year or a few years from now where you're like, hey,
Right.
remember
Yeah.
that email?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a cool thing that we have to discuss
Right.
or whatever. I think that's super cool. I'm sort of like that too.
Yeah. Yep.
So I can appreciate that because connections is everything in this business. And I
Yeah.
don't mean like, oh, we got connections, but like
Right.
connecting with people, and it's a people business.
Yeah.
It's a relationship business, and there's like, you can't not have that. So
Right.
to be a little intuitive and kind of cognizant of like personality
Yeah.
and alignment,
Yeah.
and that's
What I feel
it's
like
huge.
when I used to have, so I had a very small team, and that was like one of my biggest things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't ever wake up looking for something to sell. Like,
Yeah.
you wake up looking to provide value to somebody that day.
Yep.
Because in my opinion, like, real estate isn't about selling. It's about
Right.
It's about all the other stuff, the personalities, the networking, the the conversations you have with people.
Yeah.
Just all of that kind of combined ends up
Your
creating
next
a good
client
business.
could be somebody you run into at the grocery store.
Yeah, you have
Like
no
you could
idea.
you could just you could just have a conversation, or you'd
Yeah.
help them out with their groceries
Yeah.
because you're a nice guy, and then the next thing you know, they see that you're working with Gabler
Yeah,
or something comes up, and then
Yeah.
2 years down the road,
right.
they're gonna be like, "Well, I met you."
Yeah, I actually have a funny story. So
Oh, nice.
I went up to, actually it was New York. I did like a business summit with Rob Schauger. He's like a business coach, really great guy. So I did this summit. It was the first time I ever did anything like that, like a business summit like that.
Like a for like a real estate, or was it?
No,
was
it's just like just a general business where a group of people ended up going up to this cabin.
Okay.
Actually, it was the same neighborhood where I sold that property.
Oh,
at,
cool.
One of the properties up there, but part of that whole experience was we were going to go on a hike, like kind of clear your mind and get to the top, talk, and just kind of share experiences, things of that nature. And there was a couple up there, and we wanted to take a picture. So we asked, hey, can you take a picture? We got talking to him, whatever. And the guy had a cabin there, and he was talking about selling it. And Rob's like, Anthony's a real estate agent. We like started talking to Robert, and yeah, I got the listing on
Wow.
top of a mountain up in
Yeah,
Lake Placid.
you just really never know.
Yeah.
And I think that in a way that could keep you going, and if you're feeling like, okay, this week feels a little slow, or like things just
Right.
aren't happening right now. But like if you have that like mindset, I guess a lot of it's gratitude. Like, oh, I could get a listing tomorrow because,
You don't know who you're going to bump into.
yes, or something happens.
Right.
And you just have to be there for
Yeah.
them. And so I think that in a way that, to me, that's a little exciting. Like
Yeah.
I would want to, and that same thing happens to us, because when those things happen to you, I could be looking at my work week and being like, next week's slow. Like it's the
Right.
2 weeks before Thanksgiving. It's not supposed to be
Yep.
swamped right now. But like, I'd like to see a little more
Yeah.
stuff come in, and then I could get a phone call from one of you guys, and you're like, hey, I got this cool thing, and we
Right.
want the whole nine,
Right.
and then I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, all set.
Right.
And that's why I think personalities like us, it's like the give and
Yeah.
take is really exciting.
Right.
It's sometimes not great,
Yeah.
but that makes the highs even higher.
Yeah, you just
You
got to
know.
work through those.
Yeah.
Work through those lows. And
Yeah, there's lots of tools out there for that, and I think a lot of it is mindset and gratitude, because
everything is mindset.
when I first started, if I saw a slow week, I would panic, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, we got to give away everything for like $1,
Right.
like,
Right.
we need
Yeah.
everybody to just buy and sell, like
Yeah.
buy our stuff right now. But like now I'm like, so what could I do this week to grow my business
Mm-hmm.
and really focus on retraining or
We've talked about a lot
yes.
of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
since the last time we've had that conversation, it's a whole different.
Right.
Like sometimes now I go home and you can ask, my kids. I go home. I'm like, I'm making dinner tonight. I'm like,
Right.
what are we baking? Can
Right.
we go shopping? I'm excited to have the mindset shifted to a slower time period because it's, during busy season, it's like 7 days a week, 12 hours days. And you can't, that's not sustainable. And then I'm like, ooh, November's coming. And then November comes and I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
The sun sets at 4:22.
Right. Right.
So,
you got to cram a lot more in. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's a big difference between working in your business and working on your business is that because, and I think a lot of people are afraid to work on their business because it's like if they're not working in their business, then, they're not getting the listing appointments. They're not, having buyer consultations, things of that nature. And once you start working on your business, what I found out is it just creates a lot more opportunities.
Yeah.
Like you're building more connections, you're getting more deals under your belt, you start to realize that you are able actually to spend a lot more time with your family and friends
and trusting yourself.
Yes.
So once you can trust yourself and what you've built,
right,
you can really enjoy those moments of like, no one's calling me right now.
Right.
Until you can trust yourself. And sometimes that happens right away for some people, and sometimes it takes a long time to have the lows and then make it through.
Right.
And then be like, oh, I can do this. I've done it. I've done much worse.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I'll get through this one.
Absolutely.
So,
that's why I think having some sort of coach.
I just hired a coach today.
Awesome.
The name of her company is Life's Too Short.
Oh, Judy Brinkman. Love her. I used to be in BNI with Judy.
Yes.
She's absolutely amazing.
We were talking about you today.
Awesome. She's
I was like,
great.
I'm starting a podcast. And she's like, that's wonderful. And I'm like, and Anthony is my first guest.
That's
and she's
awesome.
like, that's wonderful. Yeah.
She's amazing.
She's a great person. And actually reconnected with her because I shot the Business Professional Women's Woman of the Year event with the auction, or I guess it's more like a raffle and the vendor show. So that was pretty cool to reconnect with her and have someone who can help me refocus on the gratitude pieces of it. And so,
I worked with Dean Lieber for a while. I'm going to end up utilizing him again. He's a great guy, but I worked with him for a little over a year. Maybe it was longer than that. I don't remember.
For real estate or just in general?
For real estate. But I mean his coaching style was I absolutely love it because it encompassed not only just business but personal and family and things of that nature and how that all kind of combines. It definitely does. But just being able to have like a third party perspective on things and being like,
or just listening to
Anthony,
just
get your head out of your butt.
And
let's
then
go.
That's it's accountability in a different way. Like people will be like, oh, it's for accountability. I think of like, oh, did you pay your taxes? Like that's not what it's about.
Did you
really.
do your checklist?
It's mostly for me, it'll be developing my team and spending more time on the team instead of, spending time trying to make money with the team, building them up in ways that will be sustainable and create the good team feeling, that loyalty.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, but for somebody like you, it could be something completely different, but the same kind of approach, right?
Right. Yeah,
like thinking about what you're working on and not what you struggle with, but like for me, it's like I'm unfamiliar with this territory is brand new to me, so I'm just winging it, But Judy can bring, or Dean can bring something like a template. And see if that works for you, something that, and then work with you on it. So I think that's,
and they
important.
do a real, I know Judy does this too, but Dean Dean does it as well, but those personality tests.
Yes. Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
interested in doing, especially now we have a
It's
team.
pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
I've
very
done them
eye-opening.
before for my
Yeah.
previous. I've two different times in my life taken the test, and it was completely different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of where I was.
Cheated on one.
No, I might have inadvertently cheated. No, because I think I was thinking this is what my boss wants me to answer. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not really cheating, but it was cheating myself.
Correct.
I was cheating myself in that way.
Yeah.
If you're not honest
Right.
with yourself, you're not going to make progress with yourself.
Correct.
Maybe I was helping the situation in my head, but it didn't really help to. And then I retook it and it was like, oh, well, you have a very dominant personality.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was hiding that.
Right.
And I'm not really willing to admit it.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think those are interesting.
Because you're able to, figure out what your real strengths are.
Yeah.
And go off of those and while understanding what your weaknesses are.
Right. So what are your goals? Like, are you building another team? Do you have an idea?
So I decided I'm just going to focus
Anthony
on
Wolcott.
Yep.
That's
I'm just
great.
focus on myself.
I think that's great.
Because there's like different avenues that I want to take. Like I'm starting to focus a lot on like land recreation properties, like hunting properties and things of that nature. So just because again that's kind of my passion.
Yeah.
So
tell me more about that. Like I have no idea. So like I don't hunt.
Yep.
But I eat meat.
Yeah.
So like somebody hunts for me in a way, right? So so this is interesting to me because my family, my brother-in-law hunts. His parents were hunters. And I've never had venison.
Right.
But my husband has, and he's like, it's so good. It's delicious.
It's one of the healthiest foods you
can
eat.
So you hunt to provide food for your family.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. I mean, I could grow vegetable garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Which I'll be doing that too.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh. I'm excited about that. Is Lindsay involved? Is she?
Oh, she'll end up being a part of it for sure.
So I had we could talk all about this. I had chickens. I had a homestead and not even like a half acre of land.
Yep.
But I wanted to live off my land. Like I wanted to live off half acre.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a raised mound septic system. So like I wasn't really going to be able to grow much.
Right.
But you're able to go out there. Yeah. And I don't know how this works. Like how do you know where hunting is okay? Like you have your own property or you have friends?
I ended up buying a property recently. It's just a 25-acre property.
25 acres.
Yeah. I always kind of remember like when you're talking.
Because I'm in Clifton Park.
Correct. When you're talking to people in like the capital region, like 25 acres, you're like, oh my god,
I can't even put that
wild.
in a drone shot, dude. Like,
but like I grew up with, I call them my extended family, the Nortons and Hicklings.
It's just the people that like are from
the Cooperstown area.
Yeah. Okay.
Edmiston, New York. So, my grandfather and grandmother. I call them my grandfather and grandmother, but they're my extended family.
I love that.
They own a fish farm, Hickling's Fish Farm out there. It's one of the biggest fish farms in the Northeast.
So tell me, because I'm so ignorant, what the heck a fish farm is.
So they pretty much raise fish up to a certain size. They sell them to private ponds.
So people can go fish.
No, it's not. It's more of like the sales side of things.
Okay.
So certain species of fish they'll have brought in from whether it's like Arkansas or out in the Midwest area.
Okay.
And there's multiple buildings on the property. So between the family, there's 2,200 acres.
Okay.
So I'm used to like that size property. Yeah. So when I say 25 acres being like, a relatively small property, that's, compared to that. But yeah, so they get all these fish in and they'll bring them into, there's large fish tanks essentially in these buildings. They're, I believe around 12 or between 12 and 16 feet wide and like, I don't know, 75 feet long, 100 feet long, something like that. And they'll bring them in there. It's all climate controlled, so it helps with, the growth of the fish. There's, a big science behind all that stuff. But, yeah, people will come, they built a pond on their property or they have a pond on their property and
So they don't
they just
have
want
to
to stock
be,
it.
yeah.
They want to go buy the fish.
It
And
could be for people who have an area for fishing, or it could just be because we want fish in our pond. But it's good for the pond, I'm assuming. It's
and it's good for recreation.
Yeah.
Like, especially like with when COVID happened and things like that, people were stuck home. It was a great opportunity for like to stock your pond and have the kids go out and fish for something to do. So,
right. Super cool.
But yeah, they also stock like, they work hand in hand with like the Soil and Water Conservation, DEC. So they'll stock like some of the larger lakes and rivers and things of that nature. So
yeah, I guess I never really thought about stocking a pond before.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, I mean, I've heard it when you have small private ponds and they build them.
Yeah.
So like, obviously the fish don't just decide one day to like hop over.
Right.
But so like, obviously I know that they put, and then even just the cute little decorative ones, they put koi fish in there, goldfish in there.
Yeah, people put those in.
Yeah,
too.
and it's just because it's fun to come out and feed the fish, which is kind of neat.
Right.
But you're getting into
so
land,
the hunting thing. So obviously if you have your own property, you can go out and hunt it. There's certain, obviously, I always tell people like go to the DEC website, look at the regulations. They have the list of, how far you have to be away from a house, and there's all these laws in place. So it's not like a free for all where you just go out there and shoot wherever. And, you don't go out there and shoot like 100 deer. Like, you're limited to that.
Okay, so there's rules that help keep things somewhat regulated for the purposes of just
safety of people, and also the conservation side of deer.
Right. Well, they're overpopulating.
Yeah, you don't want to be overpopulated. That's when disease and cars getting hit, or deer getting hit by cars,
and then people
things
getting injured.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you don't want to go too far the other way and kind of wipe out the population either. So
that's cool. That's actually really cool, because I don't think a lot of people know about that side of hunting.
Right.
That there is a symbiotic, just like it's in with nature, where the cheetah's going to eat the
whatever it is. Yeah.
And that, it's sad when you watch it.
Right.
But it happens. It can't not happen. It's the circle of life, and like, in a way, I mean, that people are in that factor too, in so many levels. And I think that we don't necessarily hear about the regulatory part of things.
Yeah, a lot of people think of like hunting like just
brutal,
like
or
killing,
like,
kill. But there's definitely a lot more involved with it too. So like, first and foremost, like, obviously in order to go out and harvest an animal, you got to have a bow or a gun. Like, me personally, I'm not like a huge gun hunter. I don't like gun hunting too much, but I'm a big bow hunter. So, I just took my son and got him his first like real bow. Yeah. And how old is he? He's 8 years old. Yeah. So, and he absolutely loves it. Yeah. So I took him out hunting a couple weeks ago, and we got a doe, and ever since then, like, he's hooked. Yeah. So it's, he has his bow now and learning how to shoot it. Mm-hmm. So we went up to the archery den that's up in Amsterdam, and those guys are absolutely great up there, but they're sitting there working him through the whole process of how to shoot. Yeah. So it's teaching him patience. It's teaching him listening skills. It's
prepping, planning,
things of that nature. And then he actually did very well up there, so they want him to join a youth league up there.
Oh, cool.
And that will end up giving him an opportunity to teach other kids. Mm-hmm. So he can Chase can be the quote-unquote leader. And so it's also building leadership skills with that as well. And then, once you get that part down where, okay, I can consistently shoot very well, where you can effectively harvest an animal without, having it suffer or anything of that nature. Then it's like you do the work aspect of it,
Right.
which is actually going out there and executing that. So,
Right.
which is, there's a lot of involvement with that
Right.
too, because you think about it, like we're used to being inside offices, inside houses,
Right.
things of that nature. Like you go out in the woods, it's like, where do I start?
Yeah, that's
Where
huge.
do I start?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a crazy, amazing skill to learn or start to learn at that age. I feel like it must
Yeah.
teach other things too. Like the world is bigger than
oh my
everything
gosh.
that I see
It gets
at
them off
school.
of the iPad,
Yeah.
the phones.
And like I can do things
Yeah.
because that's the probably one of the most, and not in a negative way, but
Yeah.
primitive
Oh, for sure.
things you could do to survive
Oh,
is to
for
be
sure.
able to hunt and eat your food.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that
Yeah, it
they
ends
get
up
to
also. I
experience.
think one of the biggest things that it brings to kids, especially the youth, is like confidence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like if
I
they're,
can do things.
yeah,
That's what I
absolutely.
tell. One time, my daughter she was just trying out for a play, and she was really nervous, and I kept saying, like, I don't know why you're so nervous, and like, I don't know what you want me to say, and she was like sobbing,
Right.
and it was very low pressure, but she was putting all this pressure on herself, and she said, I just want you to tell me I can do it, and I was like, you can't.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh crap, I messed
Right.
that one up. So now
Yeah.
I'm always like, you can do hard things, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But that's really cool. Like,
Yeah, because it's not only a learning curve for the kids, but it's a learning curve for us as parents too. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like sometimes
oh,
sometimes kids need something and they just don't know how to say it, or
Yeah.
they're kind of scared to say it.
Yeah.
And
And what a bonding experience
Oh,
to
my gosh.
teach your kids something that
Yeah.
you are passionate about, that is
Yeah.
important to you, but also teaches them like 25 different skills in one.
yeah, huge life
That's
lessons.
that's amazing to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
And so now you're focusing a little bit of your business on, I don't know how to say this, but you're selling property, canvassing properties, or
Oh, for the
Yeah,
for
so
like the
for,
land
like,
management side
yeah.
of things. Yeah, so right now I'm like focusing on like kind of like a separate division of like kind of hunting properties.
Yeah.
Like just land recreation properties in general, because obviously people do more with land than just hunt.
Right.
Whether it's ATVs, or some people just like to have property to, put trails through and take their dogs for a walk or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. So
and do it safely, or
yeah. So, specifically, like, obviously my passion is hunting. So working with people, looking at these properties, some people are not as experienced as,
They
as
just be
others.
like, there's a lot of acreage,
Yeah.
and there's a stream running through it,
Right.
and that's it.
Right. And even there's
But-
very well experienced hunters that may not know something.
Right.
And again, like, I'm the first person to say I don't know absolutely everything about, hunting. I've been doing it for, I don't know, 20 whatever years.
Right.
But there's always something new to learn.
Right.
You talk to people who are actually in the hunting industry, and they're always learning new stuff.
Right.
So that's just having that mindset is absolutely key too, because you're always looking for new educational experiences
Yeah.
and, talking with people, what are you doing about this? Like, what are you planning for this?
Yeah.
But that's, to me, like, just like real estate, that's the funnest part about it, is like the process.
Yeah.
Like getting into it and like harvesting an animal is great, because you're setting yourself up for a great story one way or another,
Right.
and like you're providing for your family,
Right.
essentially grocery shopping in a
Yeah,
way.
that's a big one. I feel
Yeah.
like that's a big one.
But for me, it's that middle part, is like the process itself, like taking
The journey.
the land and like turning it into something that may not have a ton of wildlife,
Yeah.
and slowly starting to see, okay, I have more deer on the property now. And if you're doing things right with the management side of things of the property, you're not just getting
So-
deer, you're
Yeah.
getting turkeys, you're getting partridge, you're all these different
Right.
things.
That's so crazy. I
Yeah.
never would have thought about
Yeah.
that you could I mean, I guess it makes perfect sense. Like we
Yeah.
can do just little things in
Right.
nature, and a lot of things can change from
Yeah.
what
So
we
it's
do.
not just a benefit for you; it's
Yeah,
also a benefit for the
for Earth.
wildlife.
Yeah, yeah, because you're creating and sort of creating like a safe harbor
Yeah.
to a degree of
Yeah.
a bigger population, but then
Absolutely.
also benefiting for your family
Right.
with the reward of more wildlife,
Yeah.
which is so cool.
Yeah.
That's
Even just, and you don't even have to like necessarily hunt
right.
the wildlife. It's the fact that you can go there.
And then
You could
see
see
the
deer, you could
eagles, or
see
yeah,
fox, you could see
yeah,
coyotes, you could see all
super
this
cool.
stuff kind of roaming around that just wasn't there before.
I would say at this point in your career, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like sort of bringing back things full circle, like from
Yeah.
especially getting Chase involved
Yeah.
in some of the stuff that's real sort of core memories for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since like again, my family got me into hunting. Like my dad was a hunter, my grandfather was a hunter. Um, I think that was like the number one thing that I enjoyed and that got me hooked into hunting was like I would go to my grandfather's who literally lived across the road from me. But just listening to his stories.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just a lot of the places that we hunted when I was young, like was literally like you could see it from his window where he sat and
Right.
I mean, just telling me the stories and pointing out certain things, I'm like, this is
So cool.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And like,
That's like, I don't think a lot of kids get to have that experience, at least not in my world.
no,
And
no.
then being able to do that
Right.
with your kid.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's what like most good parents dream of. I mean, unless they
Yeah.
had a horrible
Upbringing,
yeah,
like,
where they
yeah.
don't want to like they take what they don't want to teach their kids
Right.
and do the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So, but like to be able to have something like that and be able to do it with your kids,
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
but also tie it into your career, which I believe in the real estate industry, your career is also just part of who you are. Like,
Has to be.
yeah, it's such a personal business. And being able, I think that's just really cool that you're able to do sort of like three
It's fun.
things at once, you know?
Yeah, yeah
Like,
it's fun because
Yeah.
again, like it doesn't feel like work.
yeah,
Not
Yeah.
at all. And like and again, like we always want to like bring the best experiences for like our family and
Yeah.
like have some sort of pathway for our kids. Like, do I expect Chase to become a real estate agent that sells
No,
land?
yeah.
Like, absolutely not. But taking those experiences that he learned,
yeah,
along the way and being
Right.
able to apply them to whatever it is, that's ultimately like the goal of
Right.
it. So
and the memories that he has with you someday,
Yeah.
he could share with his kids, like
Right.
your grandpa, did
yeah,
this,
exactly.
and with his parents, and then
Yeah.
it's so cool.
But it does translate to like so many because like again like him learning the whole shooting a bow and understanding the different parts of the bow and
Right.
not only like what parts are there but why they're there and like
Yeah.
kind of like going into depth of things a little bit more. And like I said, the archery den does a really great job with teaching the kids that, but
Right.
but he's able to translate that into everyday life, whether it's school, whether once he's older
Yeah.
and gets his job, like
The nitty gritty of things
It's-
sometimes aren't like the glory,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But when you get them done and you do them right,
Right.
in the end, there's usually a positive result.
Right.
And that's something a young kid to learn
Yeah.
is like invaluable.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So cool.
I always say like kind of with anything, even when I was in the police force too, but like everything starts in the home.
Yeah. I've heard you say that before.
Yeah. That's like
I've heard
my
you say that before, and
yeah.
it definitely stuck with me.
Yeah.
It definitely stuck with me. I love that.
That environment, like obviously you can change down the road, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot harder to get back on track. I was one of those people, like kind of like a rough childhood, and then
Yeah.
like it took me a while to like find myself
Yeah.
and like figure all that stuff out. So
But it's super. I think people are lucky though if they hire you, You are so well rounded. Like at this point, you're like, oh, I've gotten into trouble. I've gotten into trouble, but I was also on the police. I was in the police department, and I can sell things, but I can also hunt you a deer.
Hunt you, Jesus.
You would not hunt the client, but I can hunt a deer or something for,
Right.
you have survival skills as well as people skills. And,
Right, yeah.
And I think that definitely puts you in a spot where you have a lot to offer a potential client on the buy and sell side. And I think that's huge,
Yeah.
And I think you're in the right place.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
I think you're in the right place.
I absolutely love it. At the end of the day, like whatever you're doing, you have to think of, with real estate.
Yep.
Your goal is the client. The client experience is the goal. Same with, again, hunting. Like it's the experience of the deer, like understanding what the deer, are there deer there, how they operate, how they navigate through the woods and their senses and all of that stuff. It's literally no different.
Yeah, that's a cool analogy, actually. Yeah. That's super
Because as soon as you like understand somebody, then it's like the personality test. Mm-hmm. Like you just kind of gear your conversation around that. I mean, I could have a conversation with you on explaining something, and I could talk with David and have to explain things a little bit differently just on his way of thinking and personality and things of that nature.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, and that's what I love about it. It's fun.
It's good.
Yeah. It keeps things interesting. It keeps you on your toes.
So if someone were to want to hire you, how would they get a hold of you?
They can call me, text me, 518-320-0920.
Okay.
Email me, Anthony@GablerRealty.com.
Okay.
Send me smoke signals. Snail mail. I don't care.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much I could talk with you for like another 2 more hours.
We'll definitely do this again, though.
We should. And we can get Lindsay on the show. We could do her own spot. We'll do her own spot.
There you go.
I mean, I do think
This place is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
This place is awesome. I love what you...
David helped me out a lot with his audio engineering skills, and
that's perfect.
And we're ready to roll now. So
I love
no more garage podcasts.
That was fun, though.
It was fun. It was fun. This will be a lot
some wine.
more. Yeah. Next time, I said to him, I didn't bring any drinks. So next time, maybe we'll do something.
I don't even really drink anymore.
Good for you.
Yeah. It's been like 3 or 4 months, something like that. Like,
that's great.
Lost 18 pounds.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. Not that I was like crazy, but like it's wild, like how just cutting out alcohol
helped overall health.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
So all the real estate agents out there.
Yeah.
Cut out the alcohol.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. They're like absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're probably saying you don't have enough deals on going on right now.
Yeah.